What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Striking Gold, your 49ers podcast on the Blue Wire Network. My name is Rob Lowder. That is Kyle Posey. We cover the 49ers for all of you guys. On the other side of the speaker, other side of the screen, how y'all doing? Welcome into the Striking Gold After Dark. Everybody's favorite. KP Show, your first surface level thoughts. What's at the top of your on the top of your head from that thrilling preseason 40 burger that is still not over, but it's also over?
3 weeks away from real football. We talked about last week. Tonight was worse from a quality standpoint, is what I would say. 40 points is incredible, but it probably says just as much about the Chargers. So remember how all these clips from Tuesday and the Chargers were just beating the snot apparently out of the 49ers? What happened to all of that?
Where did they go? Well, I don't know. Did any of them play? Did any of this?
I mean, they played I think they played the first series or so. I don't know.
And they went what? They went 3 and out. What, 3 and out on the first series?
Yeah. And honestly, Lenore clamped McConkey. We were talking about all the things McConkey was doing. Lenore clamped McConkey. So practice.
Gotta hit him with the.
Yeah, right.
Did I tell you that I used to think that was them putting away a sword? I was like, why are all these DBs? Why do they keep putting away a sword? What does it have to do? I mean, it's cool. I'm down with it. I love medieval stuff. But why do they keep putting away swords? And then I was like, oh, they're putting on a seat belt. I get it. Buckle up for safety, guys. Buckle up for safety.
Strapped.
And then I thought one time it was so funny. I don't know if I tweeted about it. Like, it was one of those overthrown footballs, and the DB did like the strap thing, even though he had no part in locking it up, and he didn't finish it, he didn't buckle it all the way up. I was like, I saw that. you didn't buckle it all the way. He knew he didn't buckle it all the way because he knew he didn't necessarily have a part in that one. So currently it's 41-9. The Chargers aren't coming back from this one. It's preseason football. That was practice. This is preseason. Does it all matter? Does none of it matter? Some of it matters, at least when it comes to a 49ers roster creation and competition standpoint. A few players today made their cases for a roster spot, and they still have another preseason game to do it. Against the Raiders, in Las Vegas.
Yep.
So, I mean, without further ado, this is takeaway time, man. Before we get into it, Cal Chipto said Herbert looks good in flag football. Aha.
Got him.
Looks good sitting on the field with his girlfriend. No, they're married, engaged. I don't know where they are now. I didn't know. Sograt said the Niners didn't play Adrian Martinez enough in practice is all. Yeah, see, that's all they needed in that practice. They just didn't unleash Adrian Martinez in that game. That's all they needed to see. Cal Chipto said, crazy to see Cowing lock up a roster spot. He may have. We'll see. I noticed Nick Martin all night tonight. How about you guys? Yeah, I mean, just as we were firing this podcast up, Nick Martin on kickoff coverage forced a fumble that was immediately recovered by the 49ers. I didn't see who recovered it, if anybody saw it. And then shortly after, Adrian Martinez hits Jordan Watkins for a 17-yard touchdown. So
that's how you make the roster if you're Nick Martin. And obviously, he probably is going to make the roster just because it's third down. But making impact plays like that on special teams, that you're going to seal the deal and almost make them wonder, like, hey, maybe we have to play this dude on defense. But like those plays, ginormous for a guy like Nick Martin. So that was really good to see.
Huge. Okay, it's takeaway time. I have your takeaways here. I've got them in front of me on my second monitor. Let me sort them because we got to get the ones who got in there first. Gifford, Sogras said Gifford is the guy in trouble at linebacker. I haven't seen or heard anything positive or even negative about Gifford all off season long, which is probably a bad thing for a guy like that, especially somebody that was like, I don't know, it was like auto aim for opposing offenses.
So, okay, let's talk about Gifford before we can talk about the linebackers, right? Because we just talked about Nick Martin. So Nick Martin is probably going to be the special teams guy, which is the same thing that Gifford does.
Was very good on special teams.
Like Tatum Bethune, like Garrett Wallow. So Gifford is in the final year of his contract, and that matters. And even more matters that there's no guaranteed salary remaining on his deal. So they can cut him and really they'd actually end up saving right around $1 million all put together. They'd have $1.4 million in dead money, but they'd still save some of the cap just from.
So definitely not. It's not something that's going to keep them from moving on if they want to.
No. They're not going to keep a 31-year-old linebacker who has shown zero ability to cover when they have a bunch of kids on the roster who can run around. So yeah, I wouldn't as Tatum Bethune just makes a sack. So I do wonder.
Garrett Wallow has looked pretty good too. Which murky that's
and Wallow has like the veteran-y versatility where he can kind of play all over the place and still give you probably give you a lot of the same things that Gifford does on special teams. So if they're just trying to get faster, it would make sense to turn the page from Gifford and just go with a bunch of young guys who can run.
They might have to. Okay, let's kick this off. Eric circa San Diego. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I don't know why it reminded me of that. Does running back Sincere McCormick make this team? I don't think so. I think he's kind of a lock for the practice squad, but I would not expect him to make the roster. What do you think, dude?
Okay, so McCaffrey, Kalen Black. Does Jordan James start the year on the pup? Because that might be the way that McCormick sneaks onto the roster. If not, does Isaac Guerrero magically get healthy and make a name for himself in the final week of the preseason, or show the 49ers enough in the couple weeks leading up? So like those kind of things are the reasons McCormick would need the things that McCormick would need to happen for him to make the roster. I still don't know. I would imagine, again, he's more of a practice squad guy, like you mentioned. He's been available, which matters, right? Like he's out here running the ball, and there aren't a lot of other options for the 49ers. But in my mind, and this is no disrespect to McCormick, on that 37-yarder, like there was just perfect blocking across the board. Like Braden Willis blocked two dudes. All the offensive line had their guys. So he really just had to run straight. And again, like no shade to him at all, even on the touchdown run. He ran hard, but the blocking was very, very, very good. So really just a credit to the guys up front.
Yeah, and keep in mind, if you're cutting a player that is McCormick, I believe, will still go on waivers. He has to be, if another team claims him, he has to go onto their 53-man roster. So it would seem that the odds of somebody claiming like Sincere McCormick would be lower than a few other players that are going to be along the wire. But Sogras says, oh yeah, Guerrero isn't imaginary. I forgot about that. Yeah, I know. He has spent most of his time on this team injured, and that is what he is doing right now with the torn pec. Okay, next up, we've got Anthony Rios. He said, I needed Mac to look great so we can get good trade value. Started good, fell off hard. He did like a little stock market, little heart monitor thing. Started good, fell off hard, and then came back up again. And then if you're talking about actual NFL teams looking at Mac Jones' film, preseason film, I don't know if anybody's doing that. But he had a couple throws there towards, like, I think it was on his last drive that probably should have been caught and probably should have been touchdowns. And NFL, if somebody's actually evaluating that, they'll look at that and say, okay, that's a great throw, and Jordan Watkins should have brought that one in at the goal line. And tough catch, guys around him, but that's what receivers do. You make those things right. So I don't know. KP, did you see anything from Mac Jones that made you really feel anything?
So real quick, Sincere McCormick was signed on June 10. So the fact that he was available tells me, nope, probably not going to make the roster. Okay, Mac Jones. He was all over the place. He made some really freaking good throws, and he had some other throws where you're like, wait, what are you doing? Why'd you do that? What made you think that? So the one to
Why did you think Jacob Cowing was 8 feet tall?
That's what I'm saying. I saw people say, like, complain about Cowing's height or whatever. Like, no, man. He's 5'9", so sure, but Mike Evans isn't going to catch that. So I don't think that's fair at all to blame Cowing. But he also made like that Watkins throw should have been a touchdown or a long completion. Stribbling, catch the freaking ball, rookie. He had one on that double move that Jones dropped it right in the breadbasket. Right before the half, I believe it was Hodge, where he delivered a dart on a deep end breaker to Hodge. So on those rhythm throws, Jones is usually money. Just when he gets off script is when you saw his accuracy kind of wane. But I do wonder, man. Like he has a point. The more he does play, the more you're wondering, like, dang, man, they really should have sold high on this dude, because every time he does make a throw, even the ones down the field, I wonder, like, Curtis Work did this last week. Like, why couldn't Curtis Work do that? So TBD. I do think the NFL is watching him, though, very closely. And another reason why I'd kind of put him on ice, like, don't show any bad plays, because you still want to dangle him ahead of the trade deadline.
Well, I mean, at least Jacob Cowing jumped and tried to basket catch at the same time simultaneously when the ball was like 4 feet off the ground.
Can't do that, man. Jeez, that drives me nuts.
Man.
Right in front of Kyle Shanahan, too. Like, he was legitimately standing like 5 yards behind Cowing as he jumps and tries to, like, catch it with his hands like that, man.
It wasn't a great throw in terms of where Cowing was and where the ball was placed, late. But it was still just like, you just don't catch passes like that. And everybody knows, like, Vernon Davis, the old Vernon Davis, like, for the phenomenal player he was just the worst at jumping for passes that just did not require jumping. Oh, this pass is at my face mask and I have to catch it with my hands. I'm going to go ahead and jump. And it's a weird thing. You see it all the time at all levels. It just kind of tells you if somebody's really confident in their hands at that moment.
This was a quarter after watching Stribbling, like, all like away from his body, just track the ball perfectly. Like, Cowing, watch your teammate.
Stribling's hands are probably 2 inches bigger than Cowing's.
That's probably true.
Cowing's got the little Burger King hands, and to no fault of his own, he's a little guy just trying to make his way in a big man's world. But Cowing was all over. I mean, we're talking about Cowing. I mean, the dude returned an 84-yard punt. Like, how do you make sense of this? Do the 49? I mean, the Chargers commentators like, yeah, you can't cut a guy that just returned an 84-yard punt for 84-yard touchdown. So it's like, man, where do we go? The roster politics sort of play into account how many wide receivers they're going to keep. Did Jacob Cowing just earn his place? He didn't. He made some goofy receiver plays, and then he made a phenomenal returner play and looked very fast in the process. So I don't know, man. Where do you think Jacob Cowing falls in the process? Do you think he made the roster? Do you think he's sticking on the roster?
So on that, on the kick return he had before that, he actually reversed field too. So he's outrunning a bunch of people, and there was a holding, but the holding was before any of the blocking. So the fact that he's fast enough to do that to the special teams unit for the Chargers twice just tells me, like, he's moving at a different speed than everybody else. And I wrote about this earlier today where I said I have a soft spot for him because he can move unlike anybody else on the roster. And that route is a great example. Even on that corner route, like the underthrown one where he had a jump on the Mac Jones throw. Like, right. He's open for a long time. And I think that matters when it comes to, what the 49ers need to stretch the field. So I do think it is, man. So Deebo Samuel was out there first, but he was just fair catching. It seemed like that was like he wasn't gonna. I don't think he had any intention of returning. They just want to see him field. But the fact
Do you
that Cowing
think
is
that
comfortable,
Debo being out there is an indictment of like Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowing?
I think that's the 49ers telling us, hey, y'all, like we're not going to keep you just because you think you're the only returners. Like we have a guy who can do it. He might not do it as well as you, but he's also a better, like he'll contribute more offensively. So I think that's their way of telling us, hey, you need to show us something, whether it is as a returner, whether it is a wide receiver, or else we'll just have Debo do it. So I think that's how I read the situation. But still, I don't know how you get rid of Cowing after this. 83 yards for a touchdown. And I know they got the punter did a little Olay and wasn't really interested in doing anything at all. But let's not pretend like a punter would have given it any, like even if he would have tried, he would have made a tackle. So yeah, like that, an explosive play like that, that's pretty much how you seal the deal.
Did you see long snapper John Weeks getting down there and getting involved in the tackle?
No, I didn't.
I can't remember what point of the game it was, but he got down there and he was involved in the tackle. And that dude was like a little bowling ball. He reminds me of the guy from Hook, the movie Hook, the guy that would curl up into a ball and roll down the stairs and knock people over. Like John Weeks is this little wide dude, and he would take it off down the field to be a part of the tackle. Let's keep takeaway time going. I'm sure more people are gonna bring up Cowing. You Ain't Leet said Strip Club is a baller. Big Sack Mac is the best backup in the league, and Cowing secured his roster spot. Also, Kalen Black may break the running back draft curse. Yeah, Kalen Black looked good. I'm a little worried about Kalen Black because on that last big run that he had where he kind of broke the tackles around the line of scrimmage and kind of took off to the right, and that one guy laid that kind of big hit on him, kind of right, like groin, lower hip area, and Kalen Black took just a little bit longer to get up. He immediately went off the field, was replaced, and never came back in. And maybe he's fine. They might have been like, just stay out, man. We'll get the other guys some burn. But it just made me worry a little bit. I don't know if he's hurt. Obviously, this was one of this. He's only been back for a couple of days. You know, his first day back was the joint practice. And then he takes a good hit in this game. And again, it might be nothing. Watch it back. He gets up a little slow, and then he just kind of jogs off the sideline. So I'm hoping he's not hurt. But he did look good. He looked fresh. He looked fast. Falling forward for sure. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned that what should have been like a 4-yard tackle for loss. Talk about that.
Yeah, so there was a free rusher in the backfield. Like he could have easily tackled him, and it seemed like he had Black wrapped up, but he made a miss, bounced off, got back to the line of scrimmage. That is what that positive percentage stat that I was talking about. Like Black did that all the time at Indiana. Like he just finds ways to get to the line of scrimmage. So instead of 3rd and 12, you have 3rd and 6, and on 3rd and 6, you find Stribbling for 21 yards. That is like a great sequence of plays for the 49ers rookies. But I think Black, he was as decisive as it gets tonight for a rookie, man. He showed some very nice runs. So I'm used to Brian Robinson running with blinders last year. So to see Black just do something completely different today, where he just knows what he's watching, knows what he's seeing, knows what the defense is doing in front of him, and doesn't waste any time doing it and does it full speed, it's pretty promising to see with Black. I thought Black was probably one of the best players for the 49ers tonight, even in those 8 carries.
Yeah, dude, he looked good, man. He looked decisive. He didn't look slow at all. You know, I don't mean that in like a speed sense. I mean, a lot of young running backs just struggle when to engage, especially on zone runs, because they're looking for those creases to kind of open up, or they're looking for that cutback to develop. And he looked decisive, man. He was running forward, and he looked like the most powerful guy out there when he was running the ball. So that's encouraging. It's a good start for him. Hopefully he's healthy again. I'm not trying to get everybody stirred up. He might be perfectly fine. It's just the way he got hit and the way he got up just kind of made me go like, hope he's all right there. Scott said Nick Martin hitting his gaps way quicker tonight. Yeah, Nick Martin looked pretty good, man. He was flying around. So we'll see.
That's why I wanted to point that out last week, because it's more of a progression thing. So, okay, you're making these mistakes tonight. Just don't make them next week. And that's how you get better, right? You have to progress as a player. And I did see that we were talking about. Like, he was in the backfield a few different times. So that is encouraging. Like, that's what you want to see from he's not a rookie, but it almost seemed like he played so sparingly last year that he still is kind of a rookie this time around.
It's kind of like a D Winters with less experience. You know what I mean? Similar athleticism, a little bit better up near the line of scrimmage, just a little bigger, but flies around, man. He's just got to start to absorb the game a little bit better. Strawberry Reacts, we were actually talking about this before we fired up the stream. Is there any reason Robert Jones didn't play? It could be a sorry, I'm bouncing around there a little bit. It could be I don't know, it could be a good thing. Like they didn't feel like he needed to play, or yeah, there's some weird answers that could come from that question. I'm not sure because every other person involved in that left guard competition played, right?
Yeah. So
did Carver Willis play?
Carver Willis started, and then Austin Pleasance played, and then after Pleasant's injury, Carver Willis came back in. So that's a sign that Robert Jones just wasn't in pads, right? Because he didn't play at all. Connor Colby played exclusively at right guard, did not play a single snap at left guard. So I do not believe that it's a 3-man race as much as they want to say it is. It's really, maybe it is, but it's just not with Colby. It's with Pleasance. And said, we'll see what the injury is with Pleasance. I don't think it's good. I think his knee might have buckled. I don't know if he's going to be playing anytime soon. It looked pretty bad. I don't know if anybody else caught that replay, but he was struggling for the couple series before that as it is. But it's still, as for Jones goes, I don't know what's going on because, okay, like think about the guys who didn't play tonight. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. Okay, makes sense. And then are you going to lump Robert Jones into that same group? Probably not. Robert Jones was pretty much exclusively playing right guard for the past week in practice. So are they really opening it up to the point where it's only going to be Willis and Pleasance? Are they sold on Jones to the point where, oh, we don't even need to see this dude? I don't feel like that's the case. Not based on the words,
right?
And just like the tone that Shanahan was using last week. So it's very puzzling. We're gonna find out. Maybe Shanahan's gonna say Jones is banged up. Jones is still sore from joint. I don't know what it may be, but very peculiar. What's going on there?
Yeah, Sograd says they ruled him out like immediately. Austin Pleasance. Yeah, it's during the regular season, it's definitely a bad sign if a team immediately rules a player out. It means they've checked the injury and they saw something they didn't like, or it was very clear that player wasn't going to be coming back in. But in preseason, sometimes if a guy gets banged up, depending on who's next in the rotation, they might just rule him out immediately just for the next guy. But typically, somebody being ruled out that quickly is never a good sign. Lyle's Figure File says Chargers getting late touchdown and 2-point conversion. Yeah, it is 41-17 with 32 seconds left. The Chargers are making a late push. Brian said, you guys see much of Upton out there? I feel like I didn't see him with the starters. I don't remember seeing Upton Stout at all.
Did play.
He might have been out there. And
I think he played the first 2 series, and that was that.
Yeah, okay. Let's keep going with takeaway time. The official takeaways. Obviously, everybody in the YouTube comments kind of gets to be a part of the conversation, which is cool. Spices it up. Wallow. Sograz says, Wallow bypassed Bethune on the depth chart. I
would say he was already above him. And maybe not. That's not the case, but
should sort of be
value
like adjacent, but maybe,
yes.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it goes. I think if Greenlaw were to go down, I would imagine Wallow's the next guy up to play Will, and maybe not. Maybe they'd keep Warner at Mike, and maybe they move Warner to Will and have Wallow play Mike or Tatum play Mike. So I think it would depend. I think just Wallow has more versatility. Tatum is like an excellent run defender, but just offers nothing as far as like I'll say this as a blitzer, understanding what he did last week, but for the most part, just doesn't do much in the passing game, whereas it's pretty clear they value what Wallow brings to the table in pass coverage. And not saying that he's like a good pass player, but based on the other guys, I think they just trust his instincts and coverage ability a little bit more.
Yeah, it seems like he's endured himself with the training staff, and it just seems like he's a good all around player. And Wallow was initially signed as a special teams player. Wallow is a good special teams player, and the fact that then he was kind of like him getting in late last season and being a serviceable linebacker was kind of like a bonus. So he seems like a very I don't know if he's secured his roster spot, if he's a sure thing, but he seems like a very strong candidate for the back end of that linebacker squad because he can kind of just do it all, and you need somebody like that, especially if Gifford's job is kind of in danger. You still need guys that are playing special teams, and Wallow can do that. Sograz said, am I crazy for thinking Cowing and Watkins are battling and Kirk is still safe? Guaranteed money, the best actual wide receiver of the three. I keep flip-flopping on all three. Left guard is the position nobody wants to win. Geez. And good game for Sam Okuwanu. Yeah, it was. But
let's start with Sam O real quick because we've talked about who's going to play in place of Michael. Like, that's him. Like, he showed tonight, like, exactly what I think he is. So he got worse last year because he had to do way more. Like, he's having to play 60, 65, 70 snaps. That should never be Sam Okuwanu. I think, like, what he got tonight, like, where he just gets to focus on just being an aggressive, rundown kind of guy is when he was at his best, when he first got on with the 49ers. I think it was 2024 maybe. But I think just as a base defensive end, he is like as plus of a run defender as it gets. So he looked like the player that you think that he can be. And I think it was just a really good sign to see him playing in the backfield tonight. As far as Cowing, Watkins, and Kirk goes, what do you think, Rob? Do you think really you can just pick a name out of the hat and you don't know? I don't think there's enough consistency from either of the two. So we haven't seen Kirk yet. But what do you think? I'll pick up from I'll follow up for you.
Well, if you work your way down from the top, you've got Mike Evans, you got Deshaun Stribbling, you got Deebo Samuel, right? I don't think I'm leaving anybody out as far as kind of like that starting three. And then
Demarcus Robinson,
he should be, man. It's like you got to have four guys that are on the field that have done it before. You would think, you got to have some guy you can bring in. We'll still keep Demarcus Robinson. He's been great during the training camp, and I think Brock Purdy likes him a lot. So we'll keep him for now. So let's just say in an ideal world, the 49ers are keeping 6 receivers. That's already 4 that we assume they're going to keep. So that leaves 2 places. That's if they keep 6. I don't think they would keep 7. This doesn't seem like the roster that's going to be able to afford them 7 receivers. There's even a chance that they keep 5, which makes this even crazier. And if that were the case, you go to Sograz's question, and it's like, is it Cowing, Watkins, or Kirk? It's like when you're looking at breakfast, you're like, I can have this, or this. You got to pay attention to the or. It's tough to say. I don't know. I don't know. If you asked me, I don't know if I would keep Kirk over those two. I think Kirk is somebody that you could cut and bring him back even shortly after that. There's probably not a huge market out there for him right now, given he's currently injured. And he might be healthy by the time it's time for roster cuts. But I think you could cut Kirk, and then if you realize you need him back, he probably will be available. And if he's not available, you could probably get somebody that would have a similar impact. I don't think I did appreciate what Christian Kirk did last year. I think he was good, especially in the playoffs, but I don't think he's somebody that's just so valuable. And you know what else makes him a little less valuable? The fact that Deshaun Stribbling looks like a legit NFL wide receiver. So maybe they feel like when they signed Kirk, they might not have felt like they didn't know what they were going to get from Stribbling. Well, now Stribbling's starting to look better with every little glimpse we get to see him. So I don't know. I don't know if it's between Cowing and Watkins and Kirk. I don't know if you're keeping 2 of those 3. I don't know if, it's really hard to say, man. What do you think?
So if you cut Kirk, you have to pay him, the dead money would just be $2.78 million. Which again, like
that's more than I would have guessed though.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but it's his guaranteed salary and his signing bonus. So it's tough. So he's 30. And we're also talking about like the other end of the spectrum. The other side of the coin is he got hurt in the first practice before the 49ers made it to the team drills. So that is not great. The fact that he's 3 weeks later, he still hasn't done anything, like not even running on the side, right? We're hearing other guys, they're running on the side. They're getting closer and closer. That's not Kirk. So I do understand, like he is a better receiver than Watkins and Cowing.
Right.
But that's because we have a lot of exposure to him. I don't think it's the same for Cowing. I don't think it's the same for Watkins. Like we understand, like, oh, hey, they all can run. They're all fast. But if Stribbling's going to be the slot, which presumably that's what he's going to do you trust Kirk to win on the outside? I'm not so sure. They use Watkins exclusively on the outside, and Cowing did that a little more today, just because I think they want to see what all those guys can do. I don't think Kirk's done anything to keep him, like his history. Even as you know, he had like 100-yard game in the playoffs last year. Nothing about what he's done in his history would make me think, oh man, like we got to keep him. Because remember, like other teams had an opportunity to sign him and they didn't. Even the 49ers, like the deal doesn't scream. Does a 1 year, $1.6 million base salary scream this guy's going to be coveted by all the other teams? I really don't think so. So you have the rookie cost control with Jordan Watkins, with Jacob Cowing, and obviously their returnability, their speed. I'd roll the dice, even if that's a roll in the dice. On less releasing Kirk. I'm going to keep Cowing, honestly. I'm going to keep Cowing. I don't know if Watkins is – I don't think Watkins can handle physicality at all, man.
He doesn't like it in the run game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just don't think that's his game. I don't think at Ole Miss, he wasn't really asked to do much. So, like, now you can't get away with that. And at the same time, Cowing's like 180 pounds, so it's not like he's going to be in there mucking it up with linebackers. So it's not easy, but at the same time, you're not going to ask either of these three really to do that on a down-to-down basis. That's where like Evans, Stribbling, Debo, like honestly, in my mind, I don't think Debo's going to be used the way 49ers fans think he is. I think he's going to be used more as like the run blocking kind of guy. And then you're going to use Cowing, Watkins, Kerr, whoever they keep to take the top off the defense and stretch the field vertically and horizontally.
Jacob Cowing going after linebackers would be like that scene in Rudy where he finally gets to practice with the starters and he's just getting absolutely demolished, and it's just slow-mo shots of him going like Cowing trying to go over the middle and block a linebacker or chip a defensive end would look a little like that. But I mean, good for him though, dude. He made a great play. Was that a block on the back on that kick return or that punt return for a touchdown? Did you see that?
No, I didn't think so.
I mean, the guy did the full on, like turned around and like just kind of stood in his way. I wasn't convinced that it was, especially with how like he kind of just obstructed him. So I think he was probably okay.
It was a great showing for Cowing, honestly. So not just that, he only caught 2 passes. He was targeted 7 times. He only caught 2 passes. We talked about like the drop, the errant throw. There are a couple. I mean, you're playing with Adrian Martinez. You're not going to always get the best opportunity to catch the ball. But one of them was a screen, and he converted that on 3rd down for a 1st down. So, like, you're seeing little things that he can bring to the table. So, I mean, just he's got to work on it being consistent. It helps. Watkins' touchdown catch came against an undrafted free agent. I wonder how much that matters to the coaching staff, right? It's in the 4th quarter, and you caught a 17-yard touchdoand pass. But then you look up the other guys like, oh, he wasn't even drafted last year. And then his come back
NFL picture is a default gray person.
right. You come back to the one that Mac Jones threw down the field. Oh, when you're going against better competition, you're not holding on to. I wonder how they weigh competition. And then obviously you got to go through every snap to see how they blocked as well. So which is something I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah. Did you see those tweets from Daniel Jeremiah recently where he was talking about the fact that preseason's kind of a liar and a lot of scouts and the guys in charge of the roster know that. And he's like, we had a guy. He's like, we had a defensive lineman that finished the preseason with like 3 sacks and 5 pressures, and we cut him at 7 a.m. the next day. Like it's just you have a good grasp on. Coaches and roster guys have a good grasp on what these guys can actually do typically.
Sure.
Felipe, cheers. Good to see you, man. Sogras says 2 brutal passes from Mac to Cowing 2. Yeah, it was a weird up and down day for Mac. It was a weird up and down day for Cowing too. Something, he just looked a little awkward at times. Asiaga said Mac was throwing dots to be the starter for someone. At times he was. Some of his throws were dots. Some of his looked like he didn't know.
Other times he was begging Curtis Work to be the backup.
Right. So it was a little weird. It was a little inconsistent. Sograz added another one here. He said, I had to come back and make a second one because, dear Lord, Adrian Martinez is an experience with a capital E. We were a Mac Jones injury away from playing him last year. That's scary stuff. While I'm here, who is the most surprising guy for each of you who you think makes the 53? I mean, I said it yesterday. I think James Thompson Jr. is going to make the 53, the undrafted free agent defensive lineman. I think the way I see him playing, and it would not surprise me if he not only makes the roster but earns significant playing time during the year, like next to somebody like Oso Odigizua. So that's my my bold take. What do you have anybody at the top of your mind that you would consider a surprise to make the roster?
Who? Yeah, I don't think like saying one of the wide receivers we just talked about is much of a surprise. I don't know. I think it would be one of the linebackers if the 49ers just go. So George Kittle being active is going to mean they keep 3 tight ends, which I guess we didn't really touch on that. But those tight ends are going to have to play special teams. But not all of these dudes, like they're going to have to rely on a lot of guys just to be one-way players, which means maybe you keep a bunch of these linebackers. So would Tatum Bethune be a surprise? I'll go with Tatum Bethune if that counts.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to have to surprise, I guess, among that linebacker group. There's just a whole lot going on there.
More linebackers than what we think they will.
Yeah,
because they can't keep any safeties because none of them can play.
Yeah, the safeties are the same thing as like the left guard, man. It just seems like nobody has any interest in clearly being the dude among that group. Nobody has any interest in standing out in safety. Nobody has any interest in standing out at left guard. So that's tough, man. Those are 2 starting positions that still don't seem like they're filled with starting caliber players. So, and we've talked about it, man. Like, and Asiaga said trade a linebacker for a 5th or 6th. They might have to trade a linebacker and maybe some picks for a safety that can come in and play for their team. Mac Jones for Jesse Bates and Tua. I don't know if anybody wants a Tua. Did you see that the new Tua meme with?
It's so bad, man.
With what's his name? Felipe said, I can't wait to get KP tape analysis, especially interested in the trenches offense and defensively. Did the early flashes confirm Willis, Halton, Thompson, etc.? Yeah, KP will have to get into that. If you haven't seen KP's YouTube channel, even though the NFL like shits all over it and just hates that their stuff is on YouTube, KP posts some awesome breakdowns on YouTube, and he's been back at it again. So make sure you're checking it out.
So last week, James Thompson Jr., no disrespect. I know how we feel on this channel about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Juniors, I mean, junior's a start. It's a start.
So James Thompson Jr. finished 13th. He had the 13th highest win percentage among all defensive tackles last week at 18.2%. So like he definitely has something to build on. Obviously, he needs to be better at just against the run. It's not easy when you're 6'6", but the fact that he was doing that in joint practice too, I am interested to see, like which D tackles stood out, because between him, Valdez, and Eason, they all play such different styles. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like each one of them, I think has flashed enough where they warrant an argument at the very least to make the roster. It'll be tough to see if you can sneak them by on the practice squad, especially if Thompson produced tonight like he did last week. Valdez too, like he's so strong in his upper body. Eason has great IQ, like tremendous IQ. He did some good things. I think he flashed a couple times tonight as well. So yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm always interested to see how the young guys perform, which obviously preseason they're all going to be young. But what's the vice? Let's do the opposite of what Sograz asked. Who is a guy who would be like a surprise cut?
Oh man, that's tough.
Put you on the spot.
Maybe I'll go Robert Jones.
Oh, that's honestly, that's a really good one. And obviously, it's not like Rob's not rooting for Robert Jones to get cut, but why isn't he playing in the second preseason game? Yeah. Why isn't he playing in the second preseason game when he hasn't played football in 2 years? And last week was the first time that we saw him play at all. I didn't really hear much about him in the joint practice other than, I think he's been running throughout the last week of practice, that he's been running with the second team exclusively at right guard. So,
well, remember we said it was a bad sign too, that he was the guy that got booted to the right guard to take over for Dominic Pooney rather than remaining in that left guard rotation for the spot. Sograz says Nate Hobbs, I'm assuming that's for his surprise cut. Nate Hobbs has been hurt for a little while and didn't play before that, right? Wasn't he hurt, came back hurt again?
Yeah, so another thing on Nate Hobbs, like he doesn't play special teams. Like if you just go back through his game log for the past couple of years for the different teams he's played on, he's never been a special teamer. So if you're not going to play special teams and you're not going to start, what are you doing? Like, what are you going to do here? So I would agree there. I actually, even when they signed him, I was a little because they have Upton Stout. Like that's going to be your guy. And unless they really thought he was going to play on the outside, which was not something he did well in years past, what was always a curious signing. So back to Robert Jones. So the 49ers would eat $1.6 million in dead money, a 1-year contract if they do cut him. It's, man, I mean, maybe not anymore based on depending on what happens with Austin Pleasance. I think that's really going to be the only thing that we need to wait to hear on if Pleasant's injury and how that could shake things up.
Sogras says Jacob Robinson putting the pressure on for a backup spot. Yeah, Jacob, like, I don't know if there's going to be room if somebody like Nate Hobbs does get cut, then maybe there is a surprise room for Jacob Robinson as that like backup nickel, because that's where Jacob Robinson would play. He's a small dude. He's a lot like Upton Stout. I liked Jacob Robinson last year when I was at training camp. I was watching him. I remember looking at Nick Wagner. We were talking about the roster and standing behind the defensive huddle, and I was like, I think that guy's going to make the 53-man. And I pointed to Jacob Robinson. He's like, yeah, he's been pretty good. And then shortly after that, it was like a Danhausen curse or something. Like he broke his arm, and then that took him out of the running to make the roster. And he's come back healthy and looks great. And made some plays in that game, and I like him. He's a small dude. Again, he seems like a perfect guy to be a little Upton Stout understudy, or so he's a chance to make the roster. I thought he had a good chance to make last year's roster, so it would be cool if he kind of like completed the comeback type of thing.
If he catches that pass, he has a really good shot to make the roster.
Yeah, that was a pick six.
I think he made the tackle for loss or the tackle at the line of scrimmage the play or like the series before that. So if you make successive plays like that and you're, like you said, like he's not getting tackled by the quarterback, it would be tough to keep a guy like that off the roster, knowing that just the struggles of the secondary.
Right. Next on the takeaway list is Little Hurl said Strib. That's the takeaway. Yeah. We haven't talked about it much, but Sean Stribbling had another good game, man. And he did have a drop. That's a tough, it would have been like a 35-yard touchdown, 40-yard touchdown from Mac Jones. Tough catch to make whenever the ball flies directly over your head and you have to, sorry, I'm kind of looking away from the mic as I say this, and you have to almost, with your eyes, there's going to be a point where you're no longer going to be able to see the football. So what you're doing is in a split second, you're doing a super quick math equation, hand-eye coordination. You're seeing the ball come over your head, and you're basically guessing as to where the ball is going to reappear on the other side of your head. So it's a catch that NFL receivers make. Good NFL receivers make it, but it's a very difficult catch because, again, you have to take your eyes off the ball. There's no way you can lift. You can't run while lifting your head straight up and to see that pass. So it looked like one of those balls that traveled directly over his helmet. Tough to place your hands in the right spot in it. I didn't see it. Did it hit his hands and bounce off, or did he miss it altogether?
From my vantage point, what it looked like is so exactly what you're talking about. But if you like, based on where you're aligned, you're basically doing like one eye. You're blind on one eye. So it looked like he couldn't see it until the very last minute, and his hands almost went the wrong way. Whereas I think if he would have gotten a chance to look back, he would have done what he did last week and then spun and used both hands. But I just don't think he picked the ball up because he couldn't see the ball. So like you already like it looks like it's cut and dry when it's just one-on-one over your shoulder, catch the ball, but that's really not how it is. Like that is a difficult catch because you can only have like one eye depending on where you are lined up. But he ran a bunch of different routes. I think he caught a curl, caught an out route, caught like an in-breaking route,
that in-breaking route over the middle was sweet.
He on the third down that Brock threw, I think it was to one of the tight ends underneath. People are probably going to tweet this out on the replay. Stribbling was one-on-one with a tight end, with the safety, and he ran another. It was like a skinny post, and he turned the safety around, and that would have been like house call because they were man coverage, and he had like 4 yards of separation. So to see him play like XFZ, to see him running out breaking, in breaking, and underneath deep passes. So I think that's more promising to see that, Stribbling's getting open at every level on different routes. That's what you want to see, especially going against starters.
Yeah, that one, it looked like it was maybe like a 10 to 12 yard dig over the middle. He had a defender on his back shoulder. He had a guy closing in to his face, and then he had another like safety up and to his right. But the defender to his left that was kind of closing opposite direction. And that's the type of visual that will give receivers like alligator arms. That defender was coming right at him. And that defender still has to commit to hitting a receiver that's running full speed that's much bigger than him. So he didn't commit to it. And Stribbling didn't back down, threw his hands out there, caught it over the middle, and was so close. If he would have broken that tackle, he was taking that one for 6-2. So he was very close to making a couple of big touchdown plays. So it was it was still, despite the drop, and no one's giving him shit for that drop. Like I said, it's hard. One of the hardest passes to catch as a receiver, and it's why they do it at the combine. It's not exactly it, but if a pass is coming directly over your back, it's hard because you can't turn either way. Neither of them work. And like KP said, the best thing you can do is what Stribbling did last week. And it's where you say, oh, I'm not going to be able to make this angle work. I'm just turning around. Yeah. And you turn around, you catch the ball, and you fall down. But that's tough. And if you never found the ball to begin with, then you're not going to be able to make that play. But it was a good day for Stribbling, man. I think that, the unfortunate thing is I've been doing some fantasy mock drafts, and I'm, 9th, 10th round, plug Stribbling in there, plug him in there. If you think about Stribbling's, if you're a fantasy person, if you think about Stribbling's situation in the offense, who's playing in front of him? Deebo Samuel and Mike Evans. That's it. And Deebo Samuel may not have the impact in the receiving game that he's had in the past, and Mike Evans tends to miss some time, and it doesn't matter if Mike Evans is on the field anyway. It's not going to hurt Stribbling. So I think we may be underestimating
because it's going to be one-on-one.
Right. Yeah, they can't focus on him. I think we might be underestimating just how much Stribbling's probably going to play. So
Stribbling also caught like he was lined up where Mike Evans would be, and they basically ran a play for him, like what it would be for Mike Evans, where it's just like a backside slant, and Stribbling caught it on 3rd down. And honestly, I felt like if the pass was out more in front of him, he did the thing where he's such a robot. You can tell, like, I have to catch ball with my hands, where if he just like runs through and catches it, maybe he has an opportunity, but the timing was just a little bit off. I think if their timing was better on that play, that has a chance to be an explosive play as well. So again, like, he's creating separation on like simple routes, which is what you want to, like, within the structure of the offense.
Dude, they made Deebo play tonight. Yeah, of course they did. He didn't have to do much though. He went out there and proved to him that he could catch a
fair
punt.
Caught a couple punts. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't even want to return it. He's like, fair catch. Hey guys, it's
clearly
fine.
The plan. Kyle probably sent him out there like, hey, do not return this.
Just catch it, man. Just catch it. Don't let your son see you get popped. Jamie said, last takeaway on the Twitterverse. Jamie said, of the running backs, White, Herbert, McCormick, who's making the team in the depth chart after CMC and Black? Well, I mean, I think it's CMC, it's Kalen Black, it's still Jordan James, who maybe they'll get lucky. Maybe he returns to practice this week. We'll get to see a little bit of him in the last week. We'll see. I don't know where he's at. I know he's been working on the side field. I think Herbert, they just re-signed like today. So they'll probably just, send him back.
Us how they feel about Herbert.
Right. Zamir White, they'll send him out the door. And then I think McCormick is going to be their practice squad running back. That would be, and I think he was wasn't he their practice squad running back for all of last season? I thought he was.
I think so too, but he was, again, like, they didn't bring him back till June. So the fact that he was available till June tells me that he's not on the highest of priorities for not just the 49ers, but the NFL. But yeah, he's probably the practice squad. I really think for some strange reason that they're going to give Garindo an opportunity if he does come back within the next couple of weeks.
Jeffrey K. Lyles Movie Files left a reply on my live tweet, and he said the backup running backs look pretty good tonight. Cowing seemed like he'd benefit from playing with Purdy. Nice speed on the punt return. Hope Martin isn't too dinged up. He looked nice and speedy, even if he didn't always make the tackle. Did Nick Martin get hurt in this game?
I must have missed that. Maybe it happened while we were on here.
I mean, I saw him late make that force that fumble on the kick return. So I haven't. We've been on here. We haven't heard any of Kyle Shanahan's comments. If any of you guys have been perusing Twitter and there's any any information out there that we haven't gotten yet, I would appreciate you passing it on. But I'm just kind of scrolling through Twitter right now just to make sure. There is one more though that I have to cover because that's how I am. This one was left. It's actually an account that I apparently didn't want to hear anymore, but I'm going to read it anyways because it just deserves to be read. John Minahan said, Rob got his KP back full-time. LOL, couldn't find anyone else. So, little history lesson, little striking gold history lesson for John Minahan. Little education for the uneducated. When Croc left for Locked On 49ers, which, you know, obviously, if I have said it already, but I was fully in support of, because, you know, that was Croc's next big thing. Everybody that listens to Croc knows that he deserves everything he's getting and doing, and that's just the way he is. KP was my immediate choice to replace Croc. It was not even, there wasn't even a big amount of time. I immediately was like, KP, hey, you want to do this? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And he was doing it for a little while. And then the powers at be at NinersNation.com, where KP works, at the time, Niners Nation and SB Nation had a podcast network. And they told KP that because they have their own podcast, they even said, I can't remember exactly what was said, but they told KP that, like, hey, you can't do both podcasts at the same time. And then KP was like, okay, well, I don't want to do your podcast and I'll just do this one. And they were like, no, you can't do that. It's against the brand. And so KP was no longer allowed to do the podcast. And time passes. It wasn't even that much time. Time passes, and the SB Nation's podcast network just dissolved into nothing. And all of a sudden, KP was green-lighted to be the co-host again. And once I realized that, he was immediately brought back on. So there was no, like, couldn't find anyone else. This was the way it was always supposed to be. Niners Nation or SB Nation got in the way for a little bit, and then once that got settled, KP came back. So whatever negative connotation you thought you had with that was it didn't work. It wasn't accurate. So that's all I'll say on that. KP, was there did I get anything wrong there?
No, I think you nailed him. Yeah.
Okay. It's my teammate. Anyways, so we did all the takeaways. We've been in the comments. I think we've covered everything. I think we did the damn thing.
If you are an East Coaster and you are still up, props to you. If you are anywhere, if you are overseas and catching us right now, thank you very much. West Coasters, it's getting late for us too, man. So I know a lot of people have to wake up. Maybe got to take the kids to school in the morning, whatever it may be. 10:41 right now, and we are still at it.
So Graz says you had a co-host. It was all of us.
I
mean, that was how takeaway time was created. You know, it's basically it's not the why was KP gone? It was the friends we made along the way.
Nice.
Look, Michael said Pennsylvania here.
Ooh,
man, what a badass place to live, dude. I'm a big Halloween guy. Pennsylvania's awesome. Pennsylvania. Sogras said in God's time zone, Pacific Standard Time. Yeah. It's true, man. It's at the very least, the Pacific Standard Time is football's time zone for sure, man. Being able to get that first game in at 10 and be able to already have breakfast figured out. Lyle's figure file said, I'm a work chip, so I watch the game live, but my body is still on East Coast time. Man, bless you guys.
It feels later for you, probably, I'm sure.
Woo, that's dedication. Yeah, 10:42 plus 3, 1:42. Man, good for you guys. Good for you guys. My son's going to wake me up in like 6 hours, but I'll be okay. I'll be in the little monitor thing going, where's daddy? Where's daddy? Okay, I think we did it. Did we leave anything out? But somebody put in here, per Vic pay for. Sogras says he added that Robert Jones had an undisclosed injury and will likely miss next week's preseason finale in Las Vegas. Sogras also said Shanahan was hopeful that Austin Pleasance was not injured too severely and expects the four-man left guard battle will go down to the wire. And those were per Vic Tafer via Sogras. Robert Newton Louder IV said, I'm still going out for a walk. He is in Hawaii right now.
Sun's probably still up where you are.
He's in Hawaii right now. So he's cheating. He's got 3 hours on all of us. It's only 7:30 there. He did just get there recently, so his body clock hasn't adjusted, but Sogras says, KP, are you going to Australia for week 1?
No, I'm not. I was very close. I was very, very, very close.
Coward.
Yep.
It's the spiders.
I'm not. I'm not. Thought about.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame. That would be one for the ages, though. Yeah. That will be cool. All right, everybody. That is a very, very. I was unsure of how takeaway time that started in the middle of the preseason game or in at the end of the third quarter of a preseason game would go. But you guys brought it, man. I appreciate you coming in here. I appreciate you making this episode so awesome. We had plenty takeaways on Twitter, and obviously we had plenty of in the YouTube comments making things entertaining. So Asiaga said, "Go Miners," and we know what he meant, but still, it's funny. That reminds me of Galaxy Quest, where never mind, that's too far into it. If you've seen Galaxy Quest, there's a very funny scene where they talk about miners, but they're not talking about little people. They're talking about people that dig in the dirt, and he's like, "Miners, not miners," and the guy's like, "You lost me." So it's if you haven't seen Galaxy Quest, you are missing out. It's hilarious. But anyways,
incredible.
What my library of movies?
Yes.
I'll show it to you. It's hilarious. It's a parody on like Star Trek. It's hilarious. But anyways, enough wasting everybody's time. It is 10:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or God's time zone per Sogras. So all right. So it's Thursday. When's the next time we're going to be on here? Maybe Tuesday of next week. Maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week. The whole Tuesday Thursday thing next week. Next week's takeaway time / game pod is going to get a little bit weird because I have a teacher thing from 6 to 8 that evening. So I'll be trying to watch the game. I'll be trying to talk to parents, and then KP might have to sort of quarterback takeaway
my
time.
show next week.
Lyle's Figure File says you've got to watch Galaxy Quest, KP. Yeah, it's hilarious. Not just a little hilarious; it's a lot of hilarious. But I will be there for takeaway time, but I'm going to miss the bulk of the game. So as far as your takeaways from the game, most of them are going to come from KP because I will be doing parent-teacher stuff. So anyways, appreciate you guys. Enough rambling on and on. I don't want to waste anybody else's time. I don't want to waste KP time. I don't want to waste my own time. I got to go to bed because, like I said, that 2-year-old's going to be waking me up. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for everything. Leave us 5-star reviews everywhere where you can. Make sure you're liking this video. Make sure you're subscribed. Do all that YouTube stuff. I appreciate you guys, but you already know what it is. For another episode, that's KP. I'm Rob. This is Striking Gold, and we are signing out.